Hey everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. I wrote a blog recently about OSHA recordable injuries, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that topic in this week's What's Up Wednesday. So, OSHA recordable injuries have kind of been a measuring stick for as long as I've been in safety, more than 30 years, of, I want to say, the way that programs are measured, safety programs are measured, the effectiveness and practice of a safety program. And the unfortunate thing I found over the years is that OSHA recordable injuries, along with, in my opinion, near misses, first aids, lost time injuries, restricted duty type of injuries, fatalities, they're all lagging indicators. And they aren't, in my opinion, necessarily an indication of how good or bad a safety program and a safety culture are in an organization. But unfortunately, like I mentioned, they're a measuring stick by which, especially in the construction sector, contractors are measured. And that means that to pre-qualify, to be able to do work with owners, with general contractors, etc., that you have to be able to maintain a number, an OSHA recordable injury rate number of whatever that might be. For some, it's a 2.0 or less, and others I've seen as stringent as a point 0.8 or less. And the reality is I think that this creates a lot of issues. And again, it's not a good measurement, in my opinion, of an effective safety program. I've seen companies with horrible safety cultures and honestly, a total lack of interest in putting any effort into creating a safe workplace, and they are injury free. They go a whole year without a single recordable lost time or more severe injury. And then on the flip side, I've seen companies that do everything right. They have a very proactive culture. They put a ton of energy and effort into building a safe workplace and a safe environment, and yet they get crippled with a frequency of small OSHA recordable injuries. And maybe one thing that'd be helpful would be kind of define an OSHA recordable injury. You can Google it and it'll pop up. But what people need to understand is that there are a fair number of OSHA recordable injuries that could very easily be prevented as OSHA recordables. So I'll give an example of that. Any injury where you send somebody in and there's follow-up care, there might be physical therapy to follow, there might be a prescription written, etc., are going to be recordable on your OSHA log. Now, if somebody is complaining about an ache and a pain and they go to a doctor, they go to a clinic, and the doctor says, well, here's a prescription for 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, and that's four 200 milligram tablets is what it equals for 800 milligram ibuprofen, then that prescription being written results in that being recordable on the OSHA log. Whereas if the doctor said, take ibuprofen no more than this amount for this in this frequency or on this schedule per day for this many days, and that ache and that pain should go away, it wouldn't be OSHA recordable because it's not being prescribed, it's being recommended. So there's so many little things that can influence whether something hits the OSHA log or not. And one thing that has always frustrated me is, again, companies are being evaluated based on these numbers: the DART rate, days away, restricted time, the TRIR, total recordable incident rate, the lost time rate, LTI, um, fatalities, etc. And and if they don't meet certain criteria, if they don't meet certain thresholds, then they will not be eligible to perform work or bid a contract. So what does that do? In my opinion, that promotes non-reporting. And I think that there's a frequency of that out in the environment where certain things aren't being reported because they will cripple a company's ability to do work. And I mean, I've actually seen companies who had such a terrible injury history that they closed their doors and reopened with a new federal tax ID number and a new name. And basically the slate was cleared and they started out from scratch. So I've kind of seen it all over the years, but ultimately I think that measuring a company based purely on those lagging indicators is not necessarily a fair evaluation of their performance and their safety program. In the last 15, maybe 20 years, we've seen the rise of third-party compliance companies like IS Networld, Veriforce, Avetta, and many others. And the idea is that these companies will collect all of our programs and our training documentation, and they will determine or deem whether or not we have a strong safety program. And the fact is, just like the issue with OSHA recordable injuries and non-reporting, anybody can pencil whip a third party program and create documents that satisfy them and then become compliant. So again, I think that, purely that desktop or paper evaluation of programs, again, not effective. The only way to really effectively evaluate a safety culture, a safety program, a company is, and their dedication to safety is to go out and actually observe their work. And that's where the rubber hits the road. And that's where we should probably spend a lot more time and energy and money than where it's being spent currently. So it's just something to think about. And when I look at a company from a safety perspective and how to maybe improve a company who's struggling with the frequency and severity of injuries, I'm not looking to curb the injuries. That's not the approach. I mean, those are the outputs. Those are the results of other things. Focusing on the inputs, focusing on the things that are leading to those injuries, be it policies, be it programs, be it training, be it a tolerance of at-risk behaviors, whatever it might be, we want to attack the root cause of those incidents in order to stop them. And that's just like a bleeding wound, you need to stop the bleeding. And usually we'll approach that from a systemic standpoint, and we'll do everything we can to focus on the leading indicators, behaviors, effectiveness of training programs, the actual health of the safety culture. Is it a risk culture or is it a brother's keeper type of a culture? So there's a lot of different approaches to use. But as I close this out, and this is the last thing, again, I don't think that lagging indicators like the TRIR and the DART rate and the LTI rate, I don't think that those are a good indication of how effective a safety program is in a company. Sometimes they're glaringly effective, but more often than not, they're really an unfair measurement of performance. So hopefully you find that helpful. We'll see you next Wednesday.